Hello, welcome to my video. Today I'll be talking about the anatomy of the eye. Now what is eye? The eyes, these are basically the organs of the visual system by which humans or animals can visualize the object. Now we'll just first of all go through some photos for observing the eyes and what are the structure from outside. Then we'll be just looking at the model and we'll understand it more deeper. So here you can see that this is a human eye. Basically the human eye and the animal eye both are almost similar. There are some minor differences between them, but almost they are similar. So here we can see that this part, this superior part, this part is called the superior eyelids. Basically there are two types of eyelids. One is the superior eyelids, one is here. This is the superior eyelids, and this is just located on the inferior region. That's why it is called the inferior eyelids. Now what we got actually, this is the superior eyelids and this is the inferior eyelids. There are some hairs. Actually here there are some hairs. These are called the eyelashes, and here you can see that this is a white area, this total white area. This is basically the most outer covering of the eye, the most outer coat layer of the eye, that is actually called sclera. The sixth part of the total eyeball that is covered by the sclera, and anteriorly this 1/6 of this portion, this is very transparent portion, this portion is called the cornea. So here we got that this is the sclera, the whitish portion, and this portion, this is called the cornea, which is very transparent. This eyeball, this is actually located in the orbital cavity, and here you can see that there are some here on this region. This is the right eye, that's why this is the medial side of the eye, and this is the lateral side of the eye. On this medial side, here we can see that this point, this junction actually, this is called the medial canthus. Similarly, on the lateral side, there is the lateral canthus. So what is medial canthus and lateral canthus? The medial canthus and lateral canthus, they are actually the joining point. They are actually the joining point of these two eyelids. Superior eyelids or upper eyelids, and lower eyelids or inferior eyelids. So these are the points where, or these are the junctions where the superior and inferior eyelids, they actually meet up. The medial canthus, that actually functions to maintain the shape of the eye, and it actually assists in the drainage of the lacrimal sac. This junction just between the sclera and this soft layer, which is called the cornea, the transparent layer, this junction is called the sclerocorneal junction, or this is called the limbus of cornea and sclera. Now here you can see that there are some caruncles here. This part, these are called the caruncles. Now these caruncles, this helps to moisturize the eye and protect it from the pathogenic organism, or it actually protects from the dust and any other foreign material. So they are doing the moisturization of the eye, and it actually protects the eye. Then here we can see that this part actually, this part is called the iris. This part is called the iris, and iris, this is actually a thin pigmented structure that found in the eye that can regulate the amount of the light that can enter the retina. Here you can see that this is the pupil, exactly the whitish portion. This whitish portion, this is called the pupil. This whitish portion is called the pupil. Now what iris actually doing? The iris maintaining or regulating the amount of light that can enter the retina. It also determines the eye color, and iris is present in the, this is actually present in the anterior part of the eye lenses. It controls the size and diameter of the pupil. Here you can see that this is the pupil, so it controls the size and diameter of the pupil, and thus regulates the amount of light entering to the eye. Now if the pupil get more dilated, that means the more and more light will be passed in, and if the pupil is getting less dilated, then less amount of light will be passed in. Okay. On this picture we can see the conjunctiva. I described that this the outer part, this is called the superior eyelids. This is the lateral view, this is the superior eyelids, and this is basically the inferior eyelids. Inferiorly the part is called the conjunctiva, and basically there are two types of conjunctiva. One is the palpebral conjunctiva, which is just attaches with the superior eyelids or inferior eyelids. This is called the palpebral conjunctiva. And just inner part, this inner part actually, which is in contact with the eyeball, this conjunctiva is called the bulbar conjunctiva. So what we got, just underneath of the superior eyelids, they are containing the layer. This layer is called the conjunctival layer, and this is specifically called the palpebral conjunctiva. And another conjunctiva that presents just with the contact of the eyeball, that is called the bulbar conjunctiva. Now on this lateral view we can see that this is the cornea. What I mentioned, actually this is the transparent area, this is the transparent area of the sclera, and this is actually consists of the 1/6 portion of the total eyeball. Now this layer, actually this bluish layer, this layer is called the iris. Now this iris, actually this is consist of the two layers. In front, this layer is called the pigmented fibrovascular layer known as the stroma, and just beneath the stroma they are containing the pigmented epithelial cell. And as I mentioned that this iris will give the color of the eye. This iris actually this is connected to different types of muscles. Some muscles are termed as the sphincter pupillae, and some muscles, actually these are termed as the dilatator pupillae. This actually contracts the pupil in a circular motion, whereas the dilator pupillae, this actually pull the iris readily to enlarge the pupil, pulling it just in folds, and so that the pupil will become dilated. Now as I mentioned before that this total eyeball, this actually total containing three layers. This is the most outer layer, this is this white, actually this white color, this layer, this is called the sclera, and just anteriorly the 1/6 portion of this actually making the transparent layer, this is called the cornea. Now the second layer, this is the red color, which is marked here as the red color. This red color layer, this is called the choroid layer, or this is called the uveal layer. This layer, this internal layer, this brown color layer, this is actually calling the retina or neural layer. Now so we got total, there are three coats, or there are three layers. One is the most outer layer, that is the white layer, this is called the sclera. Then this is the reddish layer, this is called the choroid, or this is called the vascular layer. And the inner layer, that is called the neuronal layer, or this is called the retina. Now this outer layer, this is actually consists of the fibrous connective tissue. It's very tough for giving the protection to the internal structure. And the second layer containing the blood vessels, and they are also containing the pigmentation. So this bulbous structure, this is called the ciliary body, and this structure, this elongated structure, this is called the ciliary process. Now here you can see that this is the lens, and this lens connected with the ciliary body by some ligaments. This lens is suspended by some ligaments, and these are called the suspensory ligaments, which actually attaching the lens with the ciliary body. Whenever actually the pupil got dilated, more and more light will be passing in, and this will be just falling on the lens, and there will be the refraction. Ultimately this refractory light, this will be just fall on the neural layer or retinal layer. Now this impulse will be conducted to the brain, and the brain will help to visualize the structure or visualize the object. Now in the eyeball, basically they are containing total three chambers. One is this chamber, which you can see that this chamber, actually this total chamber, this chamber, this is called the anterior chamber. And here you can see another chamber, just in front of the lens and just behind the iris. Actually, this chamber is called the posterior chamber. Now this anterior chamber and posterior chamber both actually containing the aqueous humor, and here you can see that there is a large cavity. This cavity actually, this is called the vitreous chamber, and this vitreous chamber containing the vitreous humor. Now the aqueous humors, it actually helps to keep the eye inflated, as well as this actually provide the nourishment to the eye. Whereas the vitreous chamber, this is they are containing the vitreous fluid, which is a clear gel-like substance or gel-like structure that's located in the eye, and it's taking the space between the eyelids and retina. That means it actually, this vitreous chamber, this actually helping in the maintaining of the shape of the eye. It actually helps to maintain the size and shape of the eye. Now we'll be just looking at the cattle eye, that how it looks like. Here you can see that this is the eyelid, where you can see here. I'm marking it with another color here. Actually, this is called the eyelid. This is the superior eyelid or upper eyelid, and this is actually inferior eyelid or lower eyelid, and this is basically the cornea just at the middle side, and the rest of the part, that is called the sclera. If you see the eye posteriorly, that there is the optic nerve. This is very, very important, and it's important for us also. And here you can see that there are some extrinsic muscle here actually containing extrinsic muscles, and they are also containing some sorts of fats or adipose tissues. Now here you can see that there is another photo, and this is the dissection of the eyeball. And here you can see what I mentioned. Actually, this is the vitreous humor, which actually helping in the maintaining of the size and shape of the eye. And here you can see that these are the ciliary bodies, which are blackish in color here, and this is the very, very transparent structure that is called the lens. Here you can see the cornea just from anterior view. Here you can see the cornea, and this part is called the sclera, and this actually just this structure, this is called the iris. Basically, this is called the iris. Now there is another photo. Here you can see that this is the lens, this is the vitreous humor, this is the pupil. Actually, this is the pupil. This gap is the pupil. This is the cornea, which is the transparent part of the eye. It's actually continuation of the sclera, which is consist of the fibrous layer. And this is actually called the anterior compartment, and this just behind the anterior compartment, they are contained the secondary compartment or second compartment. I mean, this is called the anterior chamber, and this is called the posterior chamber, both actually containing the aqueous humor. And this layer, actually, this is called the retinal layer, which is the most inner layer, and this blackish layer, actually, this is called the choroid layer. Now, choroid layer containing the pigments, and they are also containing the vasculature. Pigments prevents the reflection of the light just inside of the eyeball. On this photo, actually zoomed in the outer part of the eye, and here you can see that this is that fibrous connective tissue layer, the most outer layer, that is called the sclera, and this is the soft layer. This is the soft layer. This layer, this is called the cornea, and here actually this is the posterior chamber. Now here you can see that this chamber which I am just marking, this is actually the posterior chamber, and this chamber, actually this total chamber, this is called the anterior chamber. Now both actually containing the aqueous humor. As I mentioned, whenever the fluid become high or the fluid concentration become high, so this will be drained into a canal, which is just situated on this limbus or this junction. This junction, actually, this is the sclerocorneal junction. If I just erase it, there is a hole, a small hole. This junction, actually, this is called the Slim's canal or canal of Slim. the excessive fluid which are produced, they will be drained into this canal, and ultimately they actually maintain the pressure, the osmotic pressure of the eye. Now here you can see another photo. This is the eye of a dog, and this is the actually lacrimal gland, which is just located on the superior lateral portion of the eye. This is the lacrimal gland, from which there will be the origination of the lacrimal ducts. These actually secrete the lacrimal fluid. This is actually the accessory lacrimal glands which is present here. I'll be talking about the rest of the thing in a model, that what is lacrimal puncta or what is the lacrimal sac and how the drain is actually occurring. Now on this photo actually we can also see the structure so that it can be very clear to you. Now this is the pupil, actually it's not visible here, and this part, this is called the iris, and this is the left eye, and here we can see that this is the lacrimal gland where it's exactly situated, and this is the actually the caruncles, and this is the medial canthus, and that is the lateral canthus. Some animals having the third eyelid, where you can see that this is the third eyelid, this is the third eyelid, and these are the basically the lacrimal canaliculi. Whenever actually lacrimal fluid getting secreted from the lacrimal glands and other glands actually secrete the fluid, so the excessive fluid actually these actually drained by the lacrimal canaliculi. So these are actually the lacrimal canaliculi which actually opening into lacrimal sac, and this lacrimal sac actually continue to make the nasolacrimal duct. This nasolacrimal duct, this actually opened in the nasal mucosa, and that's why what happens, excessive fluid actually getting accumulated, so this fluid actually will be drained by the nasal passage. Now in case of the human, whenever we cry, the excess fluid, this actually drained by the nasolacrimal duct, and that's why the fluid actually come from the nasal mucosa, from the nostrils actually they come out. Here you can see that cat actually is having the third eyelid. This is the third eyelid, and this is also called the nictitating membrane. So third eyelid basically is just nothing. This is also called the nictitating membrane. Now it's basically a tissue located around the cornea, conjunctiva and mucous membrane. You can see that this is the nictitating membrane, or this is the third eyelid which is actually closing, this animal actually closing. That's the third eyelid. So this was all about the photos. Now we'll be just looking into the models.